Ohio State somehow, some way, is going to get the hell out of South Bend with a victory. They win 17-14 over Notre Dame in a game where my hope for the Buckeyes' chances was lost and regained about a billion times, give or take, in the final 5 minutes. We got an answer to a question that we haven't had to ask ourselves yet this season, and throughout the past couple years has been answered with a big fat no, was can both sides of the ball, when all the chips are down, can they get it done? Can they do what they have to do in the final minutes of a big game? Now, is Notre Dame the toughest test Ohio State is going to face all year? No, not even close. However, this was their first big game on the road. I know they played Indiana on the road, but this was their first true road test. And again, despite all of the bumps and the hiccups and whatever else, they ended up just barely getting enough to receive a passing grade on this one. Now, I'm going to skip to about the end of the fourth quarter where all the interesting action happened at the end of the game. So they can't reach a first down on another 3rd and 1. At this point, it was still 10-14. They are leading a must go for it on 4th and 1 in the red zone. They run some silly end around to Egbuka that gets nowhere. Notre Dame gets the ball back. At this point, everything was going nuts. It was, this is Ryan Day's last season. Ohio State's not going to get through this game, let alone against teams like Penn State and Michigan. And now the defense has to get a stop despite them giving up back-to-back long touchdown drives. But they actually do so. JTT showing up for really the first time all game. He was held to a pretty quiet night except for when it mattered the most. And with 2:18 left, Ryan Day elects to let the clock run down all the way to 1:36 in order to preserve the timeout, a move that I hated at the time, but it ended up they needed that timeout more than ever. So after Notre Dame punts, Ohio State has the ball in their own 35, a minute 26 left with one timeout. McCord to Egbuka converts a huge 3rd and 10. However, Notre Dame getting pressure on McCord, forcing an eventual do-or-die 4th and 7, and a crossing route to Julian Fleming just barely gets it. A Marvin Harrison Jr. reception got it down to the 14. They spike it. They didn't spike it at that point, but it was 2nd down with 22 seconds left. McCord was hit with an intentional grounding on that 2nd down, and the Buckeyes had to use their timeout then to avoid a 10-second runoff along with the offensive penalty. So it's 3rd and 19, and Emeka Egbuka would get the pass to convert it, get it all the way down to the 1, and they would spike it with 7 seconds left. Now, the first play was a throw that was no good to the sideline. They had one more play to run with 3 seconds left, and Chip Traynham with a 1-yard touchdown run to end the game. Well, not yet, but at the time, it was thought to have been a walk-off touchdown. Ohio State would have won 16-14. First off, let's just say this. This is a wild scenario. Could you imagine somebody coming up and telling you that Chip Traynham was going to get the game-winning touchdown against Notre Dame for Ohio State? I definitely would not have had that on my bingo card or my prediction sheet or my horoscopes, whatever kind of method you use to predict future outcomes. Chip Traynham getting the game-winning touchdown over Notre Dame, not on any of them. Now, they did review it, and they determined that while Chip Traynham did score, he broke the plane with 1 second left to go. So Ohio State kicks extra point, 17-14 with 1 second left. The kick was squibbed out of bounds, giving Notre Dame the ball at their own 40. Didn't love it, would have rather them just kicked it. Don't give them those extra 15 yards to not have to work with, but it didn't really matter either way. The lateral play for Notre Dame really went nowhere. Sam Hartman got a flag for, illegal forward pass on the play. But yeah, that's how the game wrapped up. An insane ending. Ryan Day afterwards, very much emphatic. He called out Lou Holtz by name. Lou Holtz having some, he was high on Notre Dame because he's a Notre Dame guy. I'm not gonna sit here and blast Lou Holtz like Ryan Day is. He's just a guy who's excited about his team. I don't blame Lou Holtz for saying the things that he said, but I understand if you're Ryan Day taking that a little bit personally. Now I am going to go back to the beginning of the game and kind of go through some of the, I guess now in hindsight, of slightly less important sequences where when Ohio State got the ball first, the first play was a swing pass to Emeka Egbuka. Didn't love that play call. Kind of thought it was kind of I was like, okay, it's one of these games for Ryan Day. That drive would die around midfield. Notre Dame drove the length of the field pretty much on their first drive, but the defense getting a nice, huge 4th down stop in the red zone. Buckeye offense a bit slow to get going to start this one. McCord probably feeling the pressure of this game, and just some of the Notre Dame linemen, maybe a little bit more than he should have. He missed Cade Stover on an open 1st down early. Notre Dame would have responded with another decent drive, but a missed field goal for Notre Dame. the Ohio State offense started to hum a little bit afterward. They do get to 4th and goal at the 1, but in that instance, they could not get a play action rollout to work. Would have made sense to take the points there. Both defenses bailing themselves out. You can also say they were getting lucky by each other. The offenses shooting themselves in the foot by not taking points or maybe going for it when they probably shouldn't. Marvin Harrison Jr. getting shut down early and was mostly held to a pretty quiet night. I know he's had that ankle injury scare, but he seemed to be fine shortly afterward. Notre Dame really making it a point to double team him and blanket covered him as they should. The Notre Dame secondary did a really good job of keeping Marvin Harrison Jr. in check. Now Ohio State driving late in the first half, Ibuka dropping a touchdown reception, which would lead to a 31-yard field goal attempt. That was good. It was 3-0 headed into halftime. That drop touchdown, if Ohio State ends up losing that game, that could have been viewed as a much more devastating play for Ohio State than it will be remembered as now. Notre Dame's first drive of the second half ends like their opening first quarter drive, where they get fairly far down the field, but there's a turnover on downs after a Sam Hartman sneak attempt is snuffed out. Lathan Ransom and Sonny Skies doing some pretty big things to help the run. Then Trey Hendrickson takes 61 yards to the house, but that is when Marvin Harrison Jr. would go down on the field. And at first it was like, is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to be out long term, perhaps the season? We already lost Jackson Smith and Jigba in a game against Notre Dame, not Harrison Jr. as well. But thankfully for Marv and Ohio State, he would end up being fine. Ohio State goes up 10-0 at this point, but then Notre Dame responded with a very long drive, ending in a 1-yard touchdown run. Lead was cut to 10-7. Meanwhile, that was when Marvin Harrison Jr. got back on the field. Ohio State, they were having a pretty good drive. They had converted a 3rd down when there was a personal foul on Josh Fryer, costing them not only to keep having the ball, but potential points on that one as well. And while I saw a lot of complaining about, that's not a personal foul, Kyle McCord had already gotten the ball out of his hands by then, and it was essentially meaningless to jump on the guy he was blocking afterwards. Maybe it is a little bit ticky-tack, but again, maybe just the quarterback had gotten rid of it, and maybe in the NFL scouts are going to say, well, that's a good block, but the way that the officiating can go sometimes, I'd rather lean on the side of caution there. Third quarter ends with Ohio State having a 4th down, 10-7. And the Fighting Irish going down the field early in the 4th quarter. Buckeye defense getting absolutely mauled in the run game at this point in the red zone. At this point, the Ohio State defense had been out for a pretty long time in the second half. Ohio State's their really only sustained drive in the second half was that one play for Trey Hendrickson, and so that defense was on the field for quite a long time. Ends with a wide open touchdown pass for Notre Dame to take the lead, 14-10. Igmanosin lost his guy there. There hadn't really been any pressure from the defensive line at that point all game, really, besides the final defensive drive. And that was when the offense had to step up. There was a huge 3rd and 5 conversion to Xavier Johnson, the defensive pass interference against Notre Dame that helped them drive the ball down the field too. But that would lead to where we got to the beginning of the video, where I was talking about the 4th and 1 conversion to Ibuka, that attempt that was very poorly received by the Buckeye fan base in terms of play calling, and obviously they failed to get the conversion there. So again, basically to summarize the main points here, it's nice to see Ohio State get this win. I'm not totally convinced that because they got the win here at the last second that they can definitely go out and beat everybody on their schedule by 50 or anything, but you'd obviously rather win this game than lose it. That goes without saying. So not everything here is fixed, but that's definitely going to be, if Notre Dame continues to play solid like they are, that is going to be a win that will look good on the resume to the College Football Playoff Committee. Hopefully Ohio State doesn't have to depend on them and their opinions of their resume to help them try to make the playoffs. But again, it helps to have that win in your back pocket should you need it. But again, when you play teams like Penn State or Michigan, are you going to really be able to have a game where you only put up 17 points and your defensive line doesn't get all that much pressure and you're failing on 4th and 1 consistently? I'm not sure if you're going to be able to have those kinds of performances against those teams. But again, when all the chips were down, when they absolutely needed to stop, when they absolutely needed to score a touchdown, Ohio State was able to get it done, and that is an improvement from what they have been able to do in their past big games against teams like Michigan and Georgia. And again, Notre Dame, not quite on that level, but it's a step in the right direction for this Buckeye team in this season moving forward. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did make it this far into it, leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed it and you'd like to see more like it. Let me know what you thought about the game down in the comments below, and I will see you at the next one. That was an exhausting game to watch. Hopefully everybody has calmed down and can have a good night's sleep. I'll see you at the next one.